Chris, the 6th anniversary of AEW Dynamite is over, and there was news. We've got a couple top matches booked for a couple additional top matches booked for Wrestle Dream. Samoa Joe stepping up to challenge, or actually take issue with Hangman Page. Hangman Page then offered a title match to him, and he accepted, noting in the ring after their victory together that he had never defeated him, and he had been preoccupied with the Death Riders and wanted to get focused back on getting the world title back. Also, Toni Storm, not surprisingly, challenged Chris Statlander to the first ever one-on-one match because she feels lost without her championship. So that gets added to the Darby Allin, Jon Moxley, I Quit match. We'll talk about the angle at the end of the show for that. So those are kind of the top items coming out of the 6th anniversary show. So I'll ask you first, Samoa Joe, what do you think of, less than 2.5 week turnaround, Samoa Joe, babyface, challenging Hangman babyface in a three-way, not a three-way match, but like a pay-per-view with three, I think, somewhat equally compelling main events. It feels like an ensemble main event presentation.
Yeah, I'm not mad about it at all. I enjoyed the way we got there. I thought the way that it sort of built into some discord between the two made sense logically. Samoa Joe, the kind of proud guy who would take issue with having a belt thrust at him and then dropped, especially one that he takes pride in holding. We did mention last time I was on that we thought Joe was a possibility for someone they could microwave into a short-term picture as a one-shot title contender. I do think at the end of the match, we will see somebody come in who's going to be the next long-term challenger for Hangman. But in terms of a short-term thing, this works great. The build was fine. There was nothing over the top, nothing contrived. I thought, kudos all around.
I think we're, long past the point in pro wrestling where there's consistency in terms of who gets title matches and how they get booked. Joe shoving Hangman, giving him a cheap shot jab, getting upset with how he tossed the title belt to him, and then, saying he never beat me, leading to getting a title shot on less than 3 weeks' notice. I mean, if this was a sport, it would feel very random. That said, Samoa Joe is a former champion. He did miss some ring time, and he has been preoccupied with the Death Riders. So, I mean, to me, if you're going to do he is kind of a turnkey challenger. Based on his history, his stature, his Hall of Fame stature, his career, how people feel about him, and kind of the idea that, he's somebody who can just step up, and you could imagine him, storyline wise, you could imagine him beating anybody on any night of the week or any random event. And, viewers are pretty savvy. Unless there's rumors of Hangman needing time off or something, they're going to expect this just to be a good match to watch Hangman win. And then, like you said, maybe that night, maybe the next time on Dynamite, the next challenger steps up. But, I mean, first of all, I like champions facing a diverse mix of opponents. And this makes more sense than, a hometown random TV title defense, or a random TV title defense against a hometown wrestler like last week.
I think as well, it doesn't feel like short notice at all to me. Like, as you said, Joe is a former champion, and that gives him a certain stature. But to me, he's Kane, basically. He is AEW's Kane. You can throw him into a title match at any point, and he's a convincing challenger. But the difference here is it's not like he said he earned this title shot. Hangman said, you can have it because you disrespected me, because I said I couldn't have won the title without you. So I'm offering it to you. I think that to me feels different from somebody saying, well, now you're the number one contender and you're having a shot. This was the champion saying, I want to defend against you.
Yeah, I think that's a good differentiation. Ramen Noodle goes, this happens all the time in every combat sport. I mean, I would be critical of random people getting title shots without. The issue is in pro wrestling, generally you have to win a tough match or a tournament, a Royal Rumble or a King of the Ring type tournament to get a title shot where you kind of call your own shot. Or you win it, or you just win a multi-week regular tournament, and AEW runs those a lot. So when you just have someone, take a cheap shot at someone and offer, and then suddenly they get a title shot, that's the issue. It's the inconsistency of it, and I would be critical of it if I'm covering UFC full-time or boxing full-time too. I just, but in pro wrestling, it's especially the case in the sense that they make people jump through so many hoops to get title shots. Small point, because I'm in favor of this, so I'm just sort of responding. I'm trying to differentiate from Ramen Noodle why I understand why people would be critical of this, but I'm not.
And at the risk of channeling my inner Oh my goodness, his name has completely slipped my head ahead. He'll be on in a second, and he'll remind me. We would have been critical if they had just run another tournament in 2 weeks, because they do that every single time.
Right. Yep.
So I am very happy that this is the way we're going, and let's see what Samoa Joe can do. And we know he can turn it on and have a great match when he needs to, and Hangman is a good opponent for that.
Little random fact from Derek Mitchell. He says, this is the third time Hangman Page faced another champion. MJF, the CMLL champ, Kyle Fletcher, the TNT champ, and Samoa Joe, 1/3 of the Trios champs. Do we count the Trios champs? I mean, I know they carry belts around, but I don't even know.
I mean, you could have told me any other two people with the Trios champs with him, and I probably would have believed you.
Yeah, I think most of the AEW viewing audience is in that position. King of Strong Style says, it doesn't, Joe. Not even in the main event title picture. When was the last time Joe won a singles match? This would be like the 12th ranked fighter getting a title shot over a Twitter post, but less build than that. I mean, I don't know. It's Joe. I mean, it's Joe. He's an ex-champ. Did he ever get a rematch?
I
don't think he did.
Because he lost it to Swerve.
Yeah.
I don't remember him getting a rematch against Swerve.
Yeah.
But again, he isn't challenging. He isn't earning a shot, right? Hangman wants to defend against him. Yep. That's what makes the difference.
I was going to kind of eventually circle back to your original point as kind of a pushback to any pushback, which is, hey, this is just Hangman offering the shot. Now, you can also make the argument, why is a champion deciding who he's going to defend against? Tony Khan. Obviously, if you're going to be super, detail-oriented, it'd be nice for the announcers to say that Tony Khan has been contemplating a variety of opponents who are contenders. There was no standout opponent who had established number one contendership. That's why a match hadn't been announced yet. But since Hangman has said he wants to face Samoa Joe says he's up for it, and he is an ex-champ who never got a rematch. Tony Khan has decided this will be the match, and it is now determined. I mean, you could do that. If I were running a wrestling company, that's kind of attention to detail that I would have. Maybe over time I'd think it doesn't matter, and I'd just not do it. I mean, we all say what we do if we had someone else's job, but then when you actually live it, it's like, maybe I don't want to go to that trouble anymore. It doesn't make a difference. But I think that would be a little cleaner. But I don't want to. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
But also, that would just be factual. I mean, who else has earned a title shot right now? Right. There isn't anyone standing out. The only person who you could maybe make an argument for would be Mark Briscoe, having just beaten MJF. But what are the other singles guys right now? Who's out there?
Well, that's another. That's more of a problem than a defense. But yeah. Derek Mitchell says, Samoa Joe is getting his title shot, much like Cody Rhodes giving Kevin Owens a title shot at the Royal Rumble. Owens thought he didn't earn. King of Strong Style says, AW claims to be sports-based. That was like 7 years ago on a press release. They have not said that since, and they have not acted like it since. But King of Strong Style says, AW claims to be sports-based. Well, what's sports-based about this? I'm sure it'll be a good match, but it's predictable, and I don't have to see it. Well, you don't have to see it.
Yeah. But I'm curious, King of Strong Style, who do you think was a better choice?
Well, I'll speak for, he can post, but I think what King of Strong Style is saying is Tony should have thought a month ago, 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, let's plan out. We got Wrestle Dream on the calendar. Let's start telling a story so that somebody feels more credible. This I'm not going to speak for King of Strong Style, but he did post. He says, this is as lazy as it gets, just a match for the sake of it. Joe has zero chance. Why should I care? This was bad. I think an argument could be made that this angle tonight feels like a result of Tony Khan waking up this morning and going, oh crap, Wrestle Dream, we need a world title match. And let's hot shot an angle to explain it. And I don't blame anybody for going, I just wish there was a little bit more of a, breadcrumb trail leading to this moment. And I get that. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, 2 months ago, he didn't know he was losing Swerve and Ospreay and MJF all at the same time. And any one of those could have been this planned for this show. 2 weeks ago, sure. Yeah, I'll agree with that. Yeah. But he didn't know. And I don't blame any booker for having three arguably top names taken out of contention in a row. Like nobody's prepared for that sort of contingency. So
in fact, they could have made that part of the story, although it makes Samoa Joe feel like a D-level challenger if you go, well, A, B, and C are injured. And we offered it to Okada, but you don't want to start going down that road. That would be, in real life, sometimes fighters like, I'm not healthy enough to take a title shot yet. Get back to me in a few months. But anyway, I don't want to get bogged down in that. I'm excited to see Samoa Joe against Hangman Page. Joe's been a top-level worker. I loved his intense promo tonight. The streak is over. I say this sort of tongue-in-cheek. Hangman Page did an intense promo and did not vow to kill somebody or bury them alive or throw dirt on their grave. He just says, I'm going to change your life forever. And that is dialing it down a bit.
Ruin your life, I think, perfectly acceptable within the wrestling context. That won't get you arrested.
Yeah, and it shouldn't get you, storyline-wise, it shouldn't get you suspended, or it shouldn't get you, scolded by the promoter for overstating things. Hangman and Joe gave good promos. It was an intense pull apart. I thought it was really well done, and I'm excited for the match. And hey, Wrestle Dream's not their pay-per-view. They've had some big main events. Was it Omega and Danielson, and then Ospreay and Takeshita the last 2 years? That's kind of top matches.
Danielson and Zack Sabre Jr. on there 1 year as well, I believe, which was an absolute classic. Yeah.
So we have had some good, there's a good history with Wrestle Dream, with good matches, but not necessarily the ones that would feel like they'd necessarily be headlining a stadium show with that kind of hype. So what? Let's pause and introduce the show, and then we'll get to some other topics here. I want to talk about the 6th anniversary festivities also. This is a Wade Keller Pro Wrestling post show for Wednesday, October 1st, 2025. I'm Wade Keller, host of the show, editor, publisher, and founder of the Pro Wrestling Torch newsletter, the website PWTorch.com, with daily news, live TV coverage, flashback reports, reader polls, and a wide array of opinions from with a variety of formats on current events in wrestling. A lot of editorials and commentaries and special features. Hope you're checking it out, PWTorch.com. Open that tab, make it a daily visit. There's a lot of good stuff there to settle in and read. And I'm also host of various podcasts. The Wade Keller Pro Wrestling Podcast Flagship is a audio-only show. We do not air that on YouTube, stream it on YouTube. And yesterday, Jason Powell from ProWrestling.net joined me. We talked for a couple hours about WWE and AEW and TNA, NXT, and more. So check that out. Usually drops late Tuesday night. Search Wade Keller in your podcast app to subscribe to our free weekly show, the weekly flagship. That also includes pay-per-view previews, often the media calls with Paul Levesque and Tony Khan, interviews, flashback shows, and more from 5, 10, and 15 years ago. The feed is busy and full, but that flagship every week is there for you for free. Search Wade Keller in your podcast app to subscribe, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. When you search Wade Keller, you'll see the red logo pop up for the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling Post Show. We stream it live on YouTube every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night after Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown. But it is also in podcast format, and that feed has other content on it that is not streamed on YouTube. So search Wade Keller and subscribe to that also. And while you're at it, subscribe to the PW Torch Daily Cast. It is free. Search PW Torch, a different show each day of the week with different hosts and different themes, such as the All Elite Conversation Club with Joel Donnell and Greg Canner. Also, Wrestling Coast to Coast with Chris Maitland and Justin McClelland. The 90s Passcast with Patrick Moynihan and Alex McDonald. The NXT Post Show, Wrestling Latin America, and more. So just wide array of hosts with specific topics 7 days a week. New content. Search it, PW Torch, and subscribe free. If you want to get all those podcasts with the ads and plugs removed and bonus content, pwtorch.com/govip is where you go for full information. Support a small business like ours. I know in this day and age, there's a lot of corporations you might be mad at, a lot of rich people running things, pushing their weight around who you're canceling or not happy supporting. If you enjoy our approach to pro wrestling and you think we have integrity and are balanced in what we do, and you just frankly enjoy our perspective on things, you can really give us a boost. We rely on you. Subscribe and support us. We appreciate it. You can look at it as a subscription / tip jar for what we bring to you. Again, that's pwtorch.com/govip. You can sign up for a small amount of money on Patreon, get the ad-free versions. You can upgrade to a full VIP membership and unlock 35 plus years of archives, hundreds of retro radio shows from the 90s, nearly 2,000 back issues of the Pro Wrestling Torch newsletter dating back to the late 1980s, tons of long-form interviews, written and audio, with some of Pro Wrestling's biggest names that I've done over the years, over the decades, an ad-free website, mobile and desktop, a new newsletter each week, exclusive content for VIP members in written format, and a great lineup of VIP exclusive podcasts on a podcast feed that, by the way, is customizable, so you can subscribe to 12 or 20 different feeds breaking down our shows. So you have flashbacks, the fix, post pay-per-view roundtables, Wade Keller hotlines, on individual feeds. You can listen to whatever you want without it running off your screen because we put so much content out there. All right. And you, by the way, Patreon, Spotify, PayPal, and your Apple account, all ways to subscribe, all detailed at pwtorch.com/govip. All right, my co-host tonight covering Dynamite is Chris Lansdell. He's been doing some great work covering New Japan on PWTorch.com lately, and he is here talking AEW Dynamite 6th anniversary show. Chris, welcome back to the co-host chair.
Always a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you. Check out his work. If you want to keep up on what's going on in New Japan, Chris has done some really good stuff, just catching you up on what's going on. I really like the overviews that you've done, Chris. Just, people who haven't kept up or aren't watching everything, or they have, and they just want to get your perspective on key things. It's out there. It's in the news and editorial section on the site. All right. 6th anniversary. Did they do enough? What do you think of what they did to celebrate? I mean, 6 is not, it's half a dozen. You could buy, half a dozen eggs, some muffins come in packs of 6, hamburger buns and packs of 8 usually, actually. Whatever. But 6 is, other than like some food, it's not really a big thing. What else is like the 6-pack? I guess 6-pack. If you got abs, you got a 6-pack. Dice have 6 sides. But anniversaries, I don't know. It doesn't really get celebrated that much. But still, I think it's worth mentioning. Although it bugged me because the 6 looks like the 5 on their graphic on other social media. And it drove me nuts. I even screwed up on the flagship yesterday. And I was like, their 5th anniversary show, because I'm staring right at what looked like a 5. Anyway, small problems. We got bigger problems than that. Chris, what do you think of what they did?
I mean, I think they did just enough. There were a couple things that I probably would have avoided, showing some of the older clips with bigger buildings full of people when this one was a very small building and either wasn't full or didn't look it because of the layout. Kind of made them look like they were on the downswing. Mm-hmm. But they paid homage to the past of the promotion. And 6 years, it's not a huge anniversary. They did a few 6-man tags to sort of celebrate. I'm glad we didn't have a 6-pack challenge. I could do without ever seeing one of those again. But I thought, you want to build to your pay-per-view. You want to put wrestling on. But you also do want to throw a little bit of nostalgia in there just to show people that you aren't just a Johnny-come-lately. And I think they struck a good balance.
They did more than they often do. And the video package, it felt like the video package was an AI prompt into their video library. And all they typed in is random highlights of our main event stars minus Cody Rhodes and Chris Jericho.
Yeah, which, that's not a bad prompt, to be fair.
No, it's fine. It's just there wasn't again, this is sort of nitpicky, but it felt almost too random. Like, it would have been kind of fun to have like labels, like here was 2019, here's 2020, here's 20, like some highlights of each year in chronological order, or a little theme showing an individual wrestler for 30 seconds, Hangman highlights, and then you go to Omega highlights. It just felt like almost no thought was put into it other than let's show you a bunch of cool spots. And so it didn't really tell me a story. It was fine. I mean, like, it's not a thumbs down. I just watched it going, okay, I don't remember anything other than it was, kind of cool to be reminded of some random things that happened.
Yeah, I would have gone personally with themes like funny moments or hard-hitting moments or high-flying moments, but some sort of a theme might have made it a little easier to follow along with. But again, I agree. We're nitpicking here. We're looking for something to be critical about. And the show, honestly, I think if you had gone too much more in terms of quantity, it would have felt overwhelming. I think they got it right on that front, at least.
I would have liked coming in and out of commercials.
Okay, yeah.
Like more going on there, showing me just little clips in and out, or a little like a soundbite from a wrestler. And honestly, I would not have minded seeing a little bit on Cody and a little bit more on Jericho. I think we got like a peripheral view of something with Jericho, but yeah.
Cody, I wouldn't mind. Jericho, I can take or leave just because of all the history and the stuff that he's done backstage. Yeah, I wouldn't mind if he just gets ignored completely in the history at this point.
I guess. There is something to be said for owning your history and celebrating it regardless of the politics of it or your personal feelings on people. That sort of says, whatever we have done in the past is important enough on a 6th anniversary show to not run from it and show it to you. But I mean, I don't know. And King of Strong Style says, why no Jericho? Because he's probably, I don't know. Is he going back to WWE? I mean, he hasn't. I don't know what
I'd be shocked if he didn't. I could almost guarantee like 15 or 20 in the Royal Rumble. His music is going to hit.
Ryan Solari points out Cody Rhodes was in the video package. So did I blink and miss it? Did you notice?
I didn't catch it.
Okay. Well, I stand corrected. So the AI prompt screwed up, not me. I'm going to blame them, even though none of that happened. Yeah. So, but like I said, overall, they needed to do that. And I think it's good to acknowledge your anniversary. And frankly, it went a little bit longer than usual. They put a lot of big stars out there during the show. They showed in the lower left corner some clips of little quotes from Twitter X from viewers. And one person said, it said something about this feels like a pay-per-view by this point, because they threw a lot of star power on the show. The lineup on paper was what it was. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, Ryan Solari goes, I didn't bring up CM Punk, but there was a brief clip of, it was 1 or 2 clips, and same with Punk. So I adjust I don't know. I don't know if it was criticism as much as that I approve of them showing a little bit of Punk and Cody, even if you blinked and missed it because there was so much rapid fire stuff going on. I'll rewatch it now. I feel bad that I didn't notice. Anyway, so but you were kind of before I got distracted by that comment. What do you think of this lineup, just overall, just like the show overall? And then we'll get into more specifics here.
On paper, it didn't look like much. I was not terribly excited to watch the show, but I think it delivered in ways I wasn't expecting. I don't think in 6 months we'll look back on this and say, "Oh my God, that was the best Dynamite ever." But everything just sort of worked. Everything went somewhere. There wasn't a single segment where there was maybe one segment where I was shaking my head going, why does this exist? But that was more in the terms of why on earth is that person in the company more than anything else. But the show sort of just flowed nicely.
Yeah.
It served a bunch of masters. I didn't have any single segment I could point to and say this was a miss. And everything that they built towards for Wrestle Dream made me want to watch that segment. So, yeah, I think they did exactly what they needed to do for a show in the start of October when everybody's getting ready for basketball season and hockey season and football season. Yeah.
Fair framing of it. All right, so the Chris Statlander Tony Storm match getting set up. How'd you feel about that? Tony Storm gets a win over Carmelo, and then says she feels lost without her title. Said we never had a one-on-one match, and Statlander agrees to it.
I thought everything with those two women tonight was phenomenal, honestly. Tony acting sort of, hangdog and just completely out of it. Got a haircut, slightly different look. She wrestled a much more straightforward, aggressive style. She cut out a lot of the innuendos in her promo. She didn't even hit her catchphrase at the end. She just sort of faded off into black. And then Statlander, it's almost like that belt has some sort of chemicals in it, because she just looked like a completely different person.
Mm-hmm.
They say sometimes the belt
yep.
makes the wrestler. In this case, it just elevated her completely. She just seemed more confident. She seemed to sort of slightly head back towards the alien gimmick, calling herself a supreme being. And then I do believe she booped Marina during the match, but not to the point where it was ridiculous. And she seemed to have more presence. She felt confident. She felt comfortable, and like she belonged in the main event. I have never seen such an incredible transformation in 1 week. The match itself, Tony can have a great match with pretty much anyone, and Statlander has the ability to have good matches. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what they do. I hope Statlander retains. I don't think she's going to join the Death Riders, especially not after tonight. Marina impressed a little bit as well, just for the record there. But yeah, both of them knocked it out of the park tonight, and I'm really happy to see that.
I like the idea of ex-champion who lost the title getting a rematch. I am a pro rematch person. In UFC, I mean, I understand there's a lot of reasons not to do it in UFC, but in general, I'm in favor of, especially because it just, sometimes you lose on a fluke. Sometimes if it's more than two people in a match, it doesn't feel like the champion is, they say in UFC, you're not really a champion until after your first defense. I don't think you're really a champion until you beat the previous champion one-on-one, one way or the other, but especially, if it's in a rematch, because the first match was a 3-way or a 4-way or something like that. So I like this. I think having a semblance of integrity to the process of who is a champion, how do you win it, how do you validate your title reign. I think you want your eye on that. I think that's part of pulling people into the product, is making it seem like competent people who know how to make something like the world titles feel credible are running it. That should be part of an effective. If getting people effectively immersed in your product should be looking like you're not just trying to market matches, but that the matches are part of a process and part of a structure that's competent and has integrity to what they do. So I don't know if that goes against what I said earlier about Samoa Joe kind of out on air getting a shot, but he's a former champion and they don't have another contender and they could have explained it better. This just fits. I mean, Storm's like, I'm the champ. I lost. I've never had a one-on-one match. Let me have it. Chris is like, yeah, I want to validate. I mean, essentially, he's like, I'll validate my title reign against you. As for her look, I like she did seem to have more confidence. Now, Sadler Vision 3 says a gimmick on Stat's face made me think she's going back to the alien gimmick. I hope she doesn't. I will take anything right now that's better than whatever she's been doing, which wasn't anything. Like, she needs to have some identity. Now, the alien gimmick, if you're actually pretending to be an alien and you're booping people and I like just stuff that it was indie-rific. If she can look upgraded and Major League, but it's not like some like a lot of stuff that AEW brought in originally was stuff that wrestlers are doing on the indie circuit. Even Orange Cassidy, which they kind of, by the way, should have reoriented. I don't know. I would have even done a little bit more when they brought him back because he was gone long enough to celebrate who he is and what he's done. That's another topic for later. But with Statlander, just have some polish and have an identity. Now, the alien gimmick should not be something where the announcers act like she's really an alien, and there should be some sort of explanation for it. And I don't know what that is. It's not my job to workshop that, but I am in favor of it, even without it being super clear how they're going to explain it and how they're going to frame it, because it's more than just her being Chris Statlander. And she did look confident. Like, hey, I've been given an endorsement by management and my peers to be in this spot, and I got to carry myself that way. So, yeah, I'm tentatively, I'm nervous, but tentatively okay if she kind of does go back to an alien gimmick, because it's something, Chris.
Be careful, because there were 3 people in this match that I know you have been critical of, and all 3 of them I think were great tonight, because Wheeler Yuta as well looked like he had some Wheaties for breakfast this morning. Other breakfast cereals are available. I thought that the whole thing was just like, what is happening in this company right now? But yeah, like, if she says I'm the supreme being and that's the extent of it, I'm fine with that. Like, calling yourself a supreme being, that fits. It's a little tricky with Megan Bain doing a similar thing, but they do have a similar look and a similar style, so it does put them on a collision course as well. If she starts pretending she's actually an alien and stuff, I'm just completely out. Right. But having said that, if she goes at it with this renewed confidence and this completely changed demeanor, maybe she can make it work. Orange Cassidy should not have worked by all rights. And when you look at some of the other indie gimmicks that they brought in, they didn't work. But Orange Cassidy made it work because he's just so darn charismatic. This Statlander might be able to do something with it. I'm not saying I want to see it, but if she can make it work, I'll give it a shot.
That's why I said I'm not ready to give the detail work on how to make this work, and I reserve the right to complain later if they frame this wrong. But man, if you're gonna have a champion who is just Chris Statlander, and I just don't know what anyone would explain about her if you asked, hey, you've been watching AEW longer than me. Who is this Chris Statlander? What is she about? It doesn't have to be just 3 or 4 words, but I think somebody should be able to, if you asked, 25 AEW weekly viewers describe Chris Statlander, you'd want there to be some semblance of commonality from one person to the other in the words they use, and you would want them to be able to come up with something. And I don't know if they would have the same words, and I don't know if they'd come up with something. And other than, as Derek Mitchell says, Stat was throwing a bunch of stuff on the wall with the alien gimmick, doing sign language. Reminds me of DDP when he started wrestling in WCW and had a bunch of things in his gimmick, and he toned it down. She has been in search of an identity. And, all it takes is just Taz going, Stat is a big fan of science fiction, and she, she likes to mess with her opponents and have plays on words when it comes to aliens, and it makes her feel, at home and powerful. I don't know. You don't want to talk. You don't want to treat her like someone dressed up for Halloween, but there should be something you can talk about that doesn't feel embarrassing about her dressing and acting and talking like an alien. Yeah. So it's up to them to come up with it. Okay, a couple other comments. They're arguing about this in the chat. Ryan Taloria goes, alien gimmick gave her personality. Fan Blast says, nope, that alien thing is a non-starter. So yeah, it's a polarizing gimmick. By the way, do you like Statlander as a long-term champion in terms of her ring work, her stature, her history with AEW, or do you think she ought to be a transition champion and it goes back to Storm or someone else?
I don't want to see it go back to Storm immediately. Maybe eventually, but not at Wrestle Dream. I think it's too early to tell. She's definitely shown that she is better with the title. And I think I would, if I'm Tony Khan, if I had a plan to take it off her quickly, I might be rethinking that now and saying, let's ride this and see how much better she can get. Because that was a revelation. So give it a few weeks, give it a couple of months, see what happens. I don't know who the obvious person to transition to would be. That's the thing.
I know.
If you don't go back to Tony, Mercedes is there, obviously. Sari is supposed to be coming in. She did have a match on Ring of Honor recently. She was a big deal over in Stardom. But there isn't really anybody sort of knocking on the door as a face or even as a heel who's like, I am going to be the next long-term champ. So let's see how Stat can do with it.
Well, I was kind of heading here, so I'll bring up Ryan Solorio's post here. I feel Stat wanted to drop it to Mercedes, and then that can lead to another Mercedes Storm epic one-on-one match. Chris,
I wouldn't mind that. I don't want Stat's Mercedes record-breaking belt to be the AEW World Championship, because that almost just makes it feel like the final bauble on a charm bracelet. That's not what the world title should feel like.
That's a good point.
Now, if she wins the tag titles as the one that puts her over the limit, I'm fine with that. The one I would probably want to see her drop it to is Athena. Hi, Rich fan. But I don't know how likely that is.
Yeah. Well, Sadler Version 3 says, I don't see anyone else on the horizon in the women's division as the next champ right now. I'm fine with Stat as champ if she is not doing the alien thing, since I do like her ring work. Let's see. Derek Mitchell says, I think Stat needs to have a good run, not a lengthy run, but long enough to have another strong women's run to help carry the load Tony Storm has been carrying. Ryan says, Mercedes could beat her for the 10 title since that's her story right now. Yeah, but as Chris points out, do you want that to be, I don't know, treated as, it's just like 1 out of 10 titles. It feels less cool. Fanblast says
is going to win the world title. I'd want her to drop a bunch of the others first and then have the world title be the one that she was like, I was focused on the wrong things and now I'm coming for the big belt.
Yeah. Fanblast says, if Tony wins it back, she'll be a 5-time champion. A 6-year-old company should not have a 5-time world champion, especially if they haven't been there from the beginning. I mean, even if it was Omega or the Bucks in a singles or tag situation or Hangman, but especially if it hadn't been someone who's been there the whole time. Speaking of which, opening segment with the Young Bucks, we had a decent amount. We had a plethora of comedy. We had Macarenas, we had Losing All Your Money, and a skit where Nick gambled and Matt got mad because we're going to do an elaborate ring entrance with pyro and other noises. It's funny, Matt trying to come up with ways to describe a bigger than ever intro. And then you had later, and just Harley Cameron doing her bit, especially with the Mercedes puppet. So what do you think of the opening skit with the Bucks? And do you like that we're getting a little bit of being the elite? I mean, that is their lane. They like that stuff.
I think in small doses, it's fine. I was having this discussion with my son this weekend when we were talking about New Japan and how comedy, because at its basis, wrestling is inherently nonsense. It's men in their underwear pretending to fight in a lot of cases. And some comedy, I think, is important to sort of break up what can feel very serious. And if you put it in like the opening match and you keep it away from the main event, I think it's fine. It didn't feel excessive to me. Harley Cameron, that is her character. And the Bucks, yeah, they messed around. They had a skit at the beginning, but then they actually went into the ring and held their end up. And that match was spectacular, if not quality. That's not what I would consider to be a quality match, but it was an entertaining match, which is chaos, really. But yeah, I don't mind comedy in the right places. And I think those were the right places.
Yeah. So the angle afterwards with Jack Perry and Luchasaurus coming back, you're shaking your head. Chris, I'll take it away. What
oh, boy. Okay. Zach's already with his fingers hovering over the keyboard for this one. First of all, I loved Josh Alexander continuing to beat down on Kenny Omega while Jurassic Express just casually strolled down to the ring and stood there filing their nails. Like Josh Alexander just looked around and was like, I don't need to stop hitting him, and just kept hitting him. Correct. Do that. Make it look sensible. When Andrade got released, every pundit I heard, you and Jason talked about this on the flagship. Like, he's probably not going to go back to AEW. He burned his bridge.
Yep.
Nope. Here he is.
Yep.
And I mean, I didn't recognize him at first because his hair is incredibly long and he's got the highlights in it. And but why is he there? Why did Tony Khan rehire him, knowing everything that happened last time? And then he put him in the Don Callis family? Like, do they need another guy who's like 6 foot tall and rangy and hits hard? Is that just your gimmick now? Like,
that's 6 feet is generous, but yeah, in wrestling boots, yeah.
It's just they have a bunch of guys who look exactly the same, and nothing was more striking to me than when it's later on, but when Kyle Fletcher won his match, and he's there standing holding the belt, and way in the back are Kazuchika Okada and Konosuke Takeshita. I'm sorry, what? I don't know. Just
cross my mind. Yeah.
Andrade has a place in wrestling. He's a very talented wrestler. I don't think he had the same issues that Aleister Black had in the company. You might have more information on that than I would, but I don't understand how you just immediately hire someone back who just wanted to leave and left, and now is coming back crying because the grass wasn't greener on the other side.
I know. I mean, I know it's a 6th anniversary show. Tony Khan likes surprises. He likes lights out, lights on. Oh my God, what's happening here? And that makes him. I mean, I think that's important enough for him to make some exceptions or forgive other past misdeeds. Andrade fits AEW, but yeah, my God. I mean, it's you'll take anyone back. I mean, it's not like Tony Khan hasn't had a reputation for maybe holding some grudges. So I haven't heard enough to know if Tony had to plug his nose to do this, or Andrade, apologized and really made up and just said, hey, I was wrong and I really want to work for you and let's make this work this time. So, Ramen Noodle says in the chat, losing 2 jobs can humble someone, and Andrade is so talented in the ring where it counts. I hope it works out. If framed correctly, he could be one of the best Mexican wrestlers on TV. Yeah. Now, another issue is it too much? Sadler Version 3 goes, Andrade shaking hands with Don Callis and joining the family made me shake my head. They're getting late NWO levels of ridiculousness when it comes to how many members they have. I already don't care about him. Is this too much? Fanblast says they're going to have to rename the show Don Callis Presents Dynamite. And Derek says, yeah, Don Callis becoming bigger than the NWO, the corporate ministry, and WCW New Blood Andrade. So yeah, too much, or is that, do we have to see it play out?
Oh, we passed too much 3 wrestlers ago. So my biggest problem with the family has always been you've got 3 guys in there who should be leading their own faction, and now arguably a 4th. LFI is right there. why do you, I mean, I know we should probably avoid putting people in the stereotypical faction with all the other Mexican wrestlers, but he literally was part of that faction for years in Mexico and in AEW. Mm-hmm. The Don Callis family does not need another upper mid-card guy who wrestles in the same style. How do you make anyone in that family stand out? You've got Josh Alexander, you've got Takeshita, you've got Kyle Fletcher, you've got Okada. All four of those guys could realistically be leading their own group, and now you throw Andrade in the mix. I understand that he's trying to do like a Heenan family style deal, and as good as Don Callis is, he is not Bobby Heenan and never will be. But you can do that without putting just a bunch of guys at the same level into the same place, because who are you elevating by doing that? Somebody is always going to be pushed down and forgotten, and that completely negates the whole point of having a heel faction.
Yeah, if you can have 12 people in a faction, but you put the TV time and the effort into defining each of their roles and the hierarchy, and you establish it so that when there's a break in the hierarchy, you can turn it into an angle, that makes sense. That is what WWE, I think, is doing and has been doing with Seth, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed. You got Seth, the established top guy. You have Braun Breaker, who is the next big thing, going to headline all these WrestleManias, according to Paul Heyman. Bronson Reed, the heavy, the backup, who's shining in this opportunity. And then you have Brock Lesnar returning, and Cody needling Seth over maybe some jealousy issues there, and Seth insisting that he's in charge still, and Heyman isn't going rogue or doing things on his own. Okay, that's all. It's established. We know Seth's a world champion. The clear established guy. Braun Breaker is the young star who's coming up. Keep an eye on him. And then you're kind of waiting for, okay, does Breaker break away, turn babyface? Does Seth break away? It's Paul Levesque's booking, so do they just they break up, but they're all heels and they face each other anyway, and nobody cares who wins or it's a pick 'em for the fans. I mean, who knows with Levesque's booking how to do it, but at least the hierarchy is there. But yes, when you have Takeshita and Okada just acting like they're off to the side and content, and you have, I mean, there's so many other guys who don't have a lot of, obviously a lot of credibility. And then the question should be, as it would be if somebody got added to the Vision in WWE or got added to the Bloodline, and big thing with Sami Zayn as a storyline, what will this do to the dynamic? What does this mean? Did Callis get approval from everybody involved? Excalibur doesn't ask those questions. Tony Khan doesn't think to prompt anyone to ask those questions. That is how you build intrigue when you add somebody new to a faction. If it's 3 people and you add a 4th, or if it's 12 people and you add a 13th, there should be an established structure and dynamic and interplay that fans are intrigued with, and they can instantly go, ooh. It's like when there's an NBA trade and you already have a power forward and you get another power forward. You have 2 point guards, but you add a veteran point guard. And you're like, well, whose minutes is he going to take away? That should be built in. There should be a granular detail to the booking. If you are a top tier booker, really paying attention to that detail, and you're Don Callis and you're putting, Don can be pushing for this behind the scenes and working it into his promos. That should be something that's happening. And it's just not, they have Okada and Takeshita. Obviously there's a story there. And so I don't want to discount like that they're not doing something, but how does that interact with Kyle Fletcher and how Don Callis feels about him? Do they have any opinion on how much attention Kyle Fletcher gets? And then Andrade, is he, what roles? And all you have to do, Jim Ross talked about it all the time. An announcer's job is to call matches, but the second most, call moves and tell the story of what's happening in the ring. But the other big thing is ask questions. Yeah. That Jim Ross always talked about that. Announcers should be asking questions. Taz and Bryan Danielson, when he, we'll get into that. Or Excalibur, they should be asking questions that get the viewer at home to go, oh yeah, but you have to have the granular detail to the booking in order to have those questions land as relevant to the viewers. And so, it's a call to action. Hopefully this sparks that starting next week.
So I think when you look at a faction, like if you want to have a centerpiece heel faction, which right now you can't be because that's the Death Riders, and until they sort of dissolve, Don Callis family is always going to be secondary. They're even holding the secondary titles. Yeah. But you can have like a primary singles champion, a secondary singles champion, a tag team that's going after the tag team titles, and then a couple of guys who are there to take pins. Like you can do 6 or 7 people without overlapping and people stepping on each other's toes. But what you've got right now is, okay, you have Romero, you have Trent Beretta, you have Lance Archer, who are there to lose. You've got Hechicero, who is only around every now and then. But when he is there, he does seem like somewhat of a threat. But then you've got Josh Alexander, who looks older and older every day, but is a very talented guy. And you've got two young guys in Fletcher and Takeshita, who should be being treated as the future. Takeshita, by the way, in about 10 days, is going to be challenging for the IWGP World title and is widely expected to be winning it. So you've got to be super careful with how you book him next week.
Yeah,
you can't have him eating a pin and then going off and winning the world title of your biggest partner. I wouldn't be surprised if the family beats him down and that's how they justify him going off to Japan, because heaven knows they didn't talk about him winning the G1. Still mad about that.
Yeah.
But then you've got like Okada, probably the best wrestler of the past 15 years. And then Kyle Fletcher is the one who's getting the benefit of the push. But when you bring in Andrade, he sort of floats in between your Josh Alexander and your Okada. So how do you promote him? What's your plan there? Yeah. The announcers haven't really talked about that dynamic in the group at all. They barely even mention the interactions between Okada and Takeshita, which is a in-your-face storyline that is being promoted. And they don't question Don about that when he's on commentary. They don't bring it up, except right after an interview backstage.
Yeah,
it blows the mind, really.
Yes, I mean, so speaking of announcing, how is Bryan Danielson doing? Because I barely notice him. I needled him a little bit in my written report at PWTorch.com, because like his insight on Powerhouse Hobbs was, oh yeah, Powerhouse Hobbs, he's big, he's powerful, or something like that. And it was like, and you can see even Taz and Excalibur are kind of throwing to him at times to try to get more out of him. And I just don't know if like this is his thing. It just, I don't know. I haven't been that impressed. This is his quote about Hobbs. That's a big man to toss around the ring like that after Claudio powerbombed Hobbs. That's a big man to toss around like that. And I don't, there's a lot of just random things that people say. So I'm not like, that in and of itself isn't bad, but I mean, he, describes a hold here and there, but I don't feel like he's asking questions. I don't feel that he's immersed in the storylines where I think that he's like, to me, I want a color commentator who conveys the stakes are high and I'm super invested in everything that's happening and I'm super aware of all the storylines. And ideally, I kind of know what's planned and what I should be dropping out there to kind of steer people into thinking about things in the right way. And I don't sense any of that's happening. I mean, I kind of sense he feels a little entitled because he's Bryan Danielson. So just him throwing out a random comment, it doesn't feel like he's approaching this as a craft that he needs to learn and get better at. It seems like something he's casually doing without a lot of thought. Am I being too hard on him, Chris?
I have a lot of thoughts on this because I've been thinking about this quite a bit. When he became part of the team, I said, I don't think this is a good idea. His voice doesn't work for it, for one thing, because he sounds like a 16-year-old boy watching this.
He sounds like he's telling a 7-year-old girl her Halloween costume looks nice. That's his tone. Oh, you look great in that outfit. Like it's just, there's something about, and I don't know if he can fix that. I mean, I could probably improve it, but go ahead. I agree.
I have to believe that he's there to set up a story. I don't think they brought him in long term. There's been a few times where they've thrown to him on commentary, and Taz has sounded almost put out that they're asking Danielson for opinions on things like suplexes or neck injuries and stuff like that. Yep. Maybe there's a Hook Danielson feud that they're building to. If there's anybody I would love to see put Hook through his paces, like that match would be very interesting. That's just a random thought that I had. But I think with Danielson, he's got great insights. And we know when he did the was it the Cruiserweight Classic or the NXT UK tournament? I don't remember which one it was, but he did it with Michael Cole, and he was phenomenal on that. Those two, they both were. So we know he can do it.
But he shines when he's calling matches in a sports-like tournament and environment, and that's not my problem with him. He's been fine on pay-per-views. I don't think he's been as good as people say, because I think he gets bonus points for being Bryan Danielson, and I mean, I guess he's earned that. But he's been okay, and I just think people feel he's a warm blanket on a cold. He's like, oh, it's Danielson, and he's calling good matches, yay! But I just think that real estate, so to speak, on commentary is so essential. Like when people say, oh, I don't pay attention to commentary, or I tune it out, or I'm listening to a podcast while I watch the show, fine, but you're missing like this, what should be a huge part of what drives storylines and frames them and adds layers and steers you into it. You can really tell if you're a viewer, you can tell what they want the viewer thinking about and asking the right questions and all that. And it's such an important part of a wrestling product. And sometimes Dynamite feels like it's just matches thrown out there to be matches, and I get that. And then there's angles afterwards. But even when there's angles afterwards, I want to be waiting to hear Danielson's opinion. I have my sports radio hosts and podcast people, and when there's Kaprizov signs the biggest NHL contract in history, I hit refresh on my podcast. I want to know what they have to say about it. I hope people feel that way about me with wrestling stories over the years. I have my favorite people I want to hear from. And I want to know, what do they think? What are they going to bring up because they're immersed in this world and I'm busy living my life? I want to know their thoughts on it. That's how I want to feel about Danielson when something big happens on the show. And I want him to step up and be better and seem more invested. And it just feels like he's just chill and casual, collecting his check, and I'm Danielson, and I'll say, boy, he's a big man to throw around. I don't know.
I don't feel like he has a good role in the booth right now, because everything that he's trying to do, Taz already does better.
Yes, they're redundant. Yep.
So put him, but you can't put him on Collision because Nigel does it better as well.
Yep.
So what if you don't have a good role for him? If you ask Taz, hey, be a bit more comedic, let Danielson handle the technical stuff. Taz is ornery. He will take exception to that.
Yeah.
So he doesn't really have a good place to fit, given what you're asking him to do. Some of the greatest sports competitors of all time are not good at anything other than playing. There's a reason Michael Jordan doesn't do commentary.
Yep.
There's a reason Wayne Gretzky isn't a pundit for the NHL.
Well, he is.
Well, he shouldn't be.
He's on a panel on ESPN. He's not. I haven't watched a ton of him. He's not great, but I mean.
Yeah,
want to stay. You're Canada. I got to correct you about hockey. That's good.
But we don't get ESPN hockey coverage. We get real coverage.
You should know what's going on with a great one.
He was great until he started hanging around with certain people.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that he's probably the greatest GOAT in any of the major U.S. sports is neither here nor there. The point is, like, Michael Jordan doesn't do this stuff, right? Because he's just not good at it. Danielson has chops in commentating. He can do it, but not the role that he's being asked to play here, which I don't even know if it's been well defined, because sometimes he's serious, sometimes he's giving insight that only a wrestler of his caliber could have, and sometimes he's just trying to be funny. And like that's not your lane. Just let Taz do that. Let Excalibur be straight-laced, and then you provide the insights that Taz doesn't have because he hasn't wrestled in God knows how long.
Yeah. By the way, you'll feel good. I corrected you. No, Derek's correcting me. Wayne Gretzky's on TNT's coverage of the NHL, not ESPN. So there we go.
Oh, we might see him on Dynamite yet.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. All right, some chat room comments on Danielson's commentary. Let's bring up Sadler. Version 3 goes, Danielson is better when he's strictly breaking down the wrestling and the moves. He's trying to be sports entertaining. I want him to be more sports entertaining. And what you mean by that? I don't know. I shouldn't say that. It depends what you mean by that. I want him to be invested in not just calling a move and emphasizing a move. Oh, that's a big guy, and that suplex looked good. It's like, sometimes he comes across like a wrestler who isn't watching the product, but he's brought on as a special guest. And he's just sort of reacting in the moment, kind of like Jesse Ventura a little bit on Sunday Night's Main Events, where it's just like,
go through the door.
Yeah. And it's like, look at this big guy. That man, Powerhouse Hobbs is powerful. Like he's watching stuff for the first time. Chris J in the chat goes, Danielson was good on the pay-per-view to finish off angles. Maybe have him focus on that. Maybe have him get good at what he's doing now. Like, I don't know. We don't have to settle for anything. He's smart. Fan Blessed. I think Danielson was doing fine until this week. I thought he was unnotable on Dynamite up till now, and I still think he's unnotable. I didn't notice him being worse, but Derek Mitchell said, Bryan Danielson, much like Tom Brady commentating NFL games, isn't that great week to week. Sometimes better commentators are the ones that didn't reach that superstar level instead of the greats. I think he's capable of it. I just think he's supposedly helping with booking, but to me, I've always gotten the sense that him helping with booking is, hey, Tony, this would be a great two wrestlers. They'd have great in-ring chemistry. And so much of what Danielson has done as a wrestler kind of colors my expectations coming in, and I feel sort of validated, which is I don't think he's been particularly like savvy and good, just to use a basic word, with how to present his various characters over the years. He wanted to turn a heel because it'd be more fun, and he didn't do anything to become a heel, and he undercut all the baby faces he was wrestling because fans were still cheering him. I still have a grudge over this whole eco belt thing where he was supposed to be heel, but he was saying all these things that the audience was largely nodding along with, going, that'd be good policy. Why are we supposed to boo you for this? And he's like, oh, but it's the way I'm saying it, and I'm sorry if that isn't enough. So yeah, Chris?
Because I think a lot of the lines that we've been ragging on Danielson for, I can hear them in Roddy Piper's voice, and they work. Because Piper could make anything sound good. Mm-hmm. I still remember his commentary on the Ted DiBiase Virgil match for the $1 Million Championship, where he literally said, I spent some time with Virgil this morning, half an hour drinking skimmed milk. And it's just, like, that's not a line anyone says, but he made it sound like it was like the most insightful thing ever.
Yeah.
Danielson does not have the gravitas of Roddy Piper.
Right.
And that, I think, part of the problem is that his voice sounds so unserious.
Yeah,
he doesn't put any bass in it. He doesn't put any security or any weight behind it.
Yeah, there's a tone to him that it's like, Mom, I did take the garbage out last week. Yes. You forgot. Like they're just kind of there's kind of that I don't know. We're picking on him, but I mean, your job is to commentate. Yeah, put bass in your voice and sound authoritative. More comments here in the chat. Andrew WR goes, Danielson's commentary feels like watching it casually with a buddy. Yeah, right. But he's not helping the product by doing that. I mean, I think it. Oh.
Yeah, I would love to watch Dynamite with Danielson, but I don't want to watch it on my TV.
Yeah, his job is to emphasize and amplify key storylines, seem emotionally invested in what's happening, help steer people, be that person through which you feel stronger about something, or it's not there. Van Bless, I don't know about lack of investment. Danielson almost blew out his voice yelling a couple weeks ago. You know what? Yelling does not mean you're invested doing the homework before. You can not do homework and show up for a test and just scribble really hard your answers on the test and break the pen or pencil doing it. Doesn't mean you're invested. It just means you're kind of doing hack. You're a hack taking your test that you didn't prepare for. I'm not saying Danielson getting excited about a finish is a hack thing, but I'm trying to disassemble the idea that him yelling in and of itself is a sign of investment. It's a different kind of investment. I want him to not just get excited when the match is happening. I want him to have talking points handed to him or produced to him, or he thinks on his own feet that helps enhance the storylines. And I know when there's a really good commentator who feels like they really care about what's happening and they're really invested in. He doesn't come across that way. Ramen Noodle goes, I love BCC Danielson on commentary because he wasn't playing neutral. Neutrality seems like a put on. Obvious acting. I agree with Chris. I think this is the beginning of an angle. And as far as Danielson, when it comes to helping with booking, Ryan Solorio goes, so you're saying Danielson is more of a matchmaker than a booker? I mean, yeah, I think Danielson's contributions to booking are about how good a match will be. Just like his picking, he was on it's why, part of the reason he went to AEW and didn't stay at WWE or left WWE to become pick his own thing, as Tony says, well, you can wrestle who you want. If you want to wrestle that guy, maybe only a tiny little subset of fans care or hurt your opponent, but it's a dream match for you, so we'll put it on TV, and if it's a dream match for you, people will care. But it's small, it's not, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think it's helping. Man, the torch is rough on the commentary table, says Ramen Noodle. I don't know. Yeah. You know what? Respond to what we're specifically saying. It's like, what did Jimmy Fallon, said, I believe. I didn't verify the quote, but I'm pretty sure it was accurate. He goes, I'm going to give it, dish out the comedy evenly to both sides of the political spectrum. And it's like, well, when one side is lying constantly and disassembling democracy and sending troops and having clowns talk to generals about they're too fat and it's I mean, it's like the other side, there's plenty to make fun of, but it's like there is a degree of difference. And so my point is like, if you think the announcing is flawed and underserving the product, call it out. It's not being, you didn't say overly rough. You just said rough. Maybe you agree that it's justified that we're rough. But Ryan Solari goes, they're not rough on commentary, they're rough on Danielson. I don't know. I've been rough on Excalibur too.
I think as well, you know, the chances of you or I getting in the ring at any point, especially now, are somewhere between slim and none, but we could feasibly do the commentary job a heck of a lot easier than we could get in the ring. And that makes it, you know, it almost feels more justified being more harsh on somebody when we know that possibly we could do that job. I mean, I have done that. I do announcing for the local basketball team. It's not easy, but it's not something that I need to spend several years getting into shape for either. So I hear you.
Yeah. By the way, I talked about Powerhouse Hobbs recently, that he's kind of like a video game character with a very limited set of moves and facial expressions, and I want more out of him. They put him in the 6-man tag with Hangman Page and Samoa Joe. And sure enough, on cue, he tags in and he did a clothesline. Then he acted like it was a huge accomplishment. Look at me. I did a clothesline. I'm going to posture the crowd. I extended my arm out, knocked the guy down because I'm bigger than him. And then he snarled with his half upper lip, which I said years ago he leaned on too hard. It just felt like that. It's just like, you can do it, but don't do it like, hey, I'm over now because I can do this. And then he no-selled Danny Garcia, and I'm totally against no-selling in almost all instances in the year 2025, especially against somebody who you're trying to keep credible. And it's all he does. And then he clotheslined Garcia. I mean, like, it's clothesline, snarl, no sell. Do more. Like, and I know he's got friends in that company who believe in him. I have been an advocate for him. But, I mean, what is his purpose? He just hangs around and no sells for wrestlers who are often credible outside of his no selling. They have to be in, you have to invest in their 20-minute matches, but he just no sells their stuff. And all he does is clotheslines now. I mean, that's a slight exaggeration, but it is the dominant move. And as somebody, who was it? Let me look it up. One of our writers said that he looks now like he's the guy at the local indie show you'd go see, just like doing the most basic of movesets. So Chris, I'll throw you.
I am shocked and appalled that you would besmirch his good reputation, because the man also does a body slam.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Was it last week or the week before where they literally said, how many body slams is that he's done now?
Yes.
Like, why would you draw attention to that?
I know.
There have been some wrestlers who have made a living off having 5 moves. And Mariano Rivera was one of the best pitchers of all time, and he had 1 pitch and everybody knew exactly what he was going to pitch and they still couldn't hit it. But he doesn't make any effort to improve, seemingly. Yeah. And I have to wonder if is he not improving, or do they not trust him to do anything else yet? Yeah. The guy has $1 million look, no question, but that's not enough today. The days of Hulk Hogan being able to get by on a big boot and a leg drop are long gone. He needs to figure out something to put in his repertoire. I mean, if you can do a clothesline and a body slam, you can't do a forearm, you can't do a European uppercut, you can't do a suplex. You learn those in the first few weeks of wrestling school, for crying out loud.
Yep.
And this guy's been wrestling a while. It's not like he walked into AEW never having wrestled before. He was on the California Indies, from what I understand. So I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if he's being told to not do anything, but it's not what I signed up to see. And Samoa Joe, he's been paired with Joe. Surely Joe can get more out of him than that. Yeah.
It was Dennis Klein, by the way, who writes the AEW Rising and Fading Stars column once a week for PWTorch.com. Hope you're checking it out. Good stuff. Good writing over there. And this is what he said. Hobbs is a guy that AEW fans chose as one of their guys early on in his stint with AEW. It's why he got the name change and was part of Team Taz. Since then, there's been little progression. Hobbs is an impressive-looking human. The look part is not the issue. The issue is that it feels like I'm at a local independent show when he's on my television. He has an over-the-top snarl that comes off as indie-rific, not a guy who's looking to rise up the card. I'm not really sure it'd be best for him other than to work more often, especially in singles matches. This is one of the issues with AEW not running house shows and not using ROH how it should be used, like AEW's NXT. A guy like Hobbs would benefit from going and working ROH as a top singles guy to see if he has it. Otherwise, he's just going to be stuck where he is now. A guy the crowd kind of likes, but doesn't really know. In the chat, Stephen Franzi says, no selling is his gimmick. He's the no seller. I don't know if that's a defense or you're mocking him, but I am against that being the limit of what he does. And I'm also just against no selling. I don't know. I mean, there's a way to no sell if you're also giving and taking in other instances. And, there's a way to make it work. But Hobbs just feels like that's not it. Sadler Vision 3 goes, Hobbs hasn't grown at all since his debut. I'd get him reps on the microphone. I'd get him in a singles feud against somebody. And I mean, he's been just hovering so long in that second tier, suffering injuries, missing time. Maybe he's being careful because he doesn't want to miss more ring time and he just wants to collect his paycheck. But that doesn't make him immune to criticism. It just means he has his reason, and with it should come criticism of that he's underachieving. But I wouldn't be this hard on him if I didn't see signs of him being capable of more. I think he has a good look, and I think that there's room for somebody of his size in AEW to really stand out. But it means expanding what you're doing beyond the green indie guy. It reminds me of someone on WMC Memphis in the '80s who would just show up and he'd be the new guy who's going to end Jerry Lawler's career, and he would no sell a bunch of jobbers, but then Lawler would throw the fist drop and pin him, and do the pile driver and pin him. But fans would be scared. This guy is so big. How can Lawler do it? He'd overcome him. It's a Hogan challenger challenger of the quarter doing a house show tour. But it's 2025. Let's do something more. Derek Mitchell says, I feel like Hobbs is destined to be a tag team or in a faction, and unfortunately won't get any more traction. Ryan Solorio goes, Hobbs scoop slams are reminding me of when Wardlow was doing a bunch of power bombs in a row. Yeah. All right. That's maybe enough on him. Okay, Fan Blast. There's always pushback on this. I don't get it. Fan Blast goes, I never agreed with you, Wade, on that Danielson eco angle. Most of this country literally voted for the guy who promised to destroy green energy. Daniel Bryan was unfortunately a heel to the vast majority, not to wrestling fans. And by the way, the majority of people are against that. They just didn't vote because they decided, well, whatever. That's a whole other issue. Did she work at McDonald's or not? So we can't verify. So let's vote for someone who's going to destroy democracy and attack Americans and have mayors and governors all over the country, trying to figure out how to defend themselves against their own federal government. It's just it's a ridiculous clown show, but and scary in terms of where it can go. But also it's such a clown show. Maybe it will, not work. It shouldn't, but who knows? It's a race. It is a race to see if anyone's going to step up and stop this. But no, most people did not want to boo a guy going, maybe pollution is bad and we should have VP. I mean, in the defense wasn't, most of the people are against environmental standards that encourage us to be more green in a way that also creates jobs. Doesn't, I remember, I won't say who, but somebody was like, wait, how can you be against smoking? You'll put the tobacco farmers out of business. And I'm like, well, they should do something different than creating a product that's killing people and it's time to move on from certain jobs, that and train for something new that isn't, destroying people's lungs or in this case, destroying the planet. So it's just the whole thing was, and he couldn't explain it. The only defense people had for it was, well, yeah, I agree with what he says, but I don't know. It's the way he says it, or the just weird pushback that people have against someone, saying they're vegan. It's like, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, to me, it was always the difference between the type of vegetarian or vegan that you are and the type of vegan who can't help but tell you on every second of every day that you're going to hell for eating meat. Right. Nobody wants to be. Well, listen, I do 2 nights a week. I've increased from 1 to 2 nights a week of no meat. Dude, lentils are so good.
I just had lentil tacos. Put some onions in the pan with some garlic, tomato paste, a bunch of seasoning with lentils, stirred it up, threw some vegan cheese on top, some hot
Vietnamese,
sauce, and
pork lentils. Well, no pork, but we did like
lentils are superfood. Yeah. So many ways you can have them. Yeah.
Coconut oil, just
yeah.
Anyway,
Indian dal.
Yeah, dal is so good. Just chuck it in the Instant Pot, set it and forget it.
Exactly.
We've also been putting butternut squash, baking soda, salt, and butter in an Instant Pot for 25 minutes, and then pureeing it, and there's your fall soups for you.
I got soup in an Instant Pot in the other room right now because I had some veggies that were like needed to be turned into soup.
Yeah. Welcome to Top Chef.
Yes. Yeah.
No.
Now I gotta go. I feel like I should go stir it. It's been sitting out for hours. Instant Pot.
My method is great. 25 minutes and you're done. Shuck it in the blender. It's so good.
Yeah.
I think the whole Danielson thing was just a case of it's not the message, it's the way he's delivering it. And I know where you're coming from, but it was a wrestling angle. It was meant to be, I am being sanctimonious with my message. And that was what turned people off.
But it was Vince McMahon loving the idea because he believed that it did make you a heel. It was the message, not the delivery.
I mean, we're talking about the guy who thought having a couple get married, a male couple getting married on TV was going to make them a heel too. So, like, let's just not.
Yeah. All right. Actually, let's go to JB's email because he has he's always good at bringing up some topics that we don't get to in the
because I got a bunch of notes we haven't touched on, so let's hope JB does.
Exactly. Yep. And I don't want to get to him before he does because he introduces them well here. So Wade Keller podcast at gmail.com, by the way, Wade Keller podcast at gmail.com. If you want to send an email in right now, if you don't want to be part of the chat or you want to write a longer email like JB, that also applies to everybody on the podcast side of things. If you want to be part of the show, Wade Keller podcast at gmail.com. When you're watching Raw, Dynamite, or SmackDown, send in an email. We'll read it on the air, and then you can listen back later, but you don't have to be part of the live stream to be part of contributing to the show. And by the way, as always, my TV reports at PWTorch.com, an ad-free version for our VIP members at PWTorchVIP.com. And we said earlier, search PWTorch in your podcast app to subscribe to the Daily Cast. Search Wade Keller, subscribe to Red and Blue Logo Show. And finally, please like the show, comment below, and subscribe to our channel. That helps us with the algorithm and helps us to grow. I got some plugs in. All right. JB says, I thought it was a good idea to have the Broke Bucks start the 6th anniversary show with a bit of a comedy segment at the Hollywood Casino, feeding into their current broke gimmick. The Bucks obviously have been an integral part of the inception and continued relative success of AEW, and this is the hottest that their characters have been in a while, in my opinion. I don't think you should start the show because they're the founding fathers, which they're saying instead of EVPs now, which is better. They should have always been called that in a way, if they were called anything on TV about that. But I don't think you should start a show because of that, even if it's an anniversary show. But it didn't feel forced. It felt natural. There was opening match. They've been doing a bit that the Bucks, losing their EVP status, are, have less power, and it's coming back to haunt them. And then when they win money in a match, they blow it because Nick has a gambling problem. I mean, it's being the elite material. We talked about it earlier, but I'm fine even if it wasn't the anniversary show. Them opening the show, Chris.
Yeah, it's you should open the show with a strong act. Like when I produce comedy shows, for example, my second strongest comedian opens the show for me right after I do my host bit, because you want somebody who's going to get the show started on the right note. You'll often see this on WWE cards. They open the show with something entertaining and exciting to get people into the show, and the Bucks are always going to be able to do that. Yep.
And along those lines, JB says, Kenny getting the pin in the opening tag for the 6th anniversary show works too. The Bucks looking conflicted, being highlighted by the announcers when Kenny was getting beat down, was interesting as well. I'm glad that Kenny, the Bucks, and Luchasaurus all got to interact on the 6th anniversary, and it wasn't just a babyface love fest that didn't fit current storylines. Yeah. Probably not an accident. All right. Kenny had one of his better babyface promos in a while. I'm glad that he not only acknowledged AEW's past, but emphasized the importance of grabbing and maintaining fans for the future. What do you think of Kenny on the mic, Chris?
There were at least 3 Easter eggs in there, and I'm not sure who they were aimed at, but the look on his face when he said, "We've made new friends and we've lost some." Are you taking shots, or are you making a comment saying some people have passed on? I don't know. You could have plausible deniability, but that felt like a shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think there was stuff worth reading into in his post-match promo. I'm always a little nervous when he grabs the microphone, but I like that he talked about that, hey, you've been here for highs and lows. that can be storyline or otherwise. The CM Punk controversy. He said what they take pride in is the journey itself. We made fans and friends along the way. We lost a couple too, Cody and Punk, or fans who. It's just sort of a generic comment about losing some fans along the way because their viewership is down from the original place that it was.
Or was it Brody Lee that they're talking about?
Yes. No, totally. Yep. And actually, that was my first thought. And I was trying to think who else that would tell. But, and then he did the adieu and bang bit that, I don't know. I mean, it's fine, but it feels like people watching who don't know the context are just like, what's this weirdo doing? All right. So back to JB's email here. Am I the only one who briefly thought that Andrade was Seth Rollins for 1 second after his unmasking? I do enjoy the idea of a Kenny Andrade feud. The Andrade return really seemed to get over with the crowd, but I'm not sure that I like Andrade and the Callis family. Andrade can certainly use a mouthpiece, but the Callis family is so bloated as is. I'll take a wait and see attitude. I mean, I'm not convinced it's going to work, but having him have a mouthpiece is a good thing because as much as people like Andrade, he doesn't ever get over as a character that you can integrate into a storyline that draws money. He's just a good hand in the ring who has good matches. And there's value in that, but there's room for him to be more than that. And when you add the baggage that comes with, his attitude and I don't know. I mean, there's stuff with him that has, prompted people to shy away. And All right. During the 6-year AEW highlight video, they showed a clip of the show they did live from the Jericho Cruise. What are your thoughts on bringing that concept back? That was something that was cool and totally unique to AEW. I don't even think that Jericho has to necessarily be involved for it to work. I don't know.
I mean, it was a cool idea, but it's kind of been done now. And the Jericho Cruise was his baby. Like he conceptualized it and he did it. And I think doing it without him would be seen as a slap in the face. And it's the kind of thing that would make wrestlers sort of turn their eyes or turn their back on you because it's not right to do that.
Yeah. Was the plan the entire time to have Kyle Fletcher attack Hologram to take him out of the match to get the Cassidy Fletcher for 6th anniversary show with the rumored previously known injury to Hologram and the idea that the OC Fletcher was more star power? I think the attack angle was probably always the plan. Chris, any thoughts on that?
Maybe. It's entirely possible. Like, I don't really know what else the plan would have been. Like Hologram, Kyle Fletcher, when that match was announced, we said that this seems weird because Hologram's streak has been largely not on TV. And it didn't feel like a fitting match for somebody who's trying to prove that they're the greatest champion of all time. Mm-hmm. It's possible that they always plan to do the bait and switch. Fans aren't going to complain because you're replacing him with Orange Cassidy, who's universally popular. So
what do you think of the clone gimmick and how it's been mostly a Collision thing, but Excalibur's like, well, there's been rumors there's a clone or something. I don't know. I mean, how do you even, it's sort of like the Statlander gimmick and she's an alien. Like, how do you even, is it better to even draw attention to it, or how do you even try to explain what they're trying to get at?
So it's been done on Dynamite as well, because whenever Hologram is there, like his entrance video and stuff has had sort of the weird feedback and interference with this clone thing showing up all over the place. So if you were watching,
but the angles, I think mostly in the commentary and in the sort of foundational backstory has been more Collision based, even though there's been references on Dynamite.
Yeah, and we can talk about that. We've talked about that a lot ad nauseum. In fact, that Collision is supposed to be an equal show, but definitely isn't. And a lot of stuff that happens on there just feels like it's happening in a different universe. And then when it comes to Dynamite with no warning, nobody really understands it. I didn't mind it so much. I mean, Hologram is not exactly a major character. Bringing someone in like this is very lucharific, and that's exactly what they're going for with that guy. The only thing I did wonder is why the heck is he in the Don Callis family?
Yeah.
Especially,
hopefully we get an explanation.
But you've just put somebody in that family on the same night who is bigger in every sense of the word and is going to completely dwarf this new guy. So you've already shot this new character in the foot because nobody's going to remember his debut. It was on the same show as Andrade joining back and becoming part of the family.
Yeah. All right. I love the idea of a Mercedes Harley tag team going for the new titles, bringing their previous feud full circle. It just works for some reason. It never felt like a personal hated feud. It always felt more lighthearted and like it would make sense for them to team down the line. How are you feeling about one, that specific question, and then more generically speaking, Harley Cameron's gimmick. Is it too much, too corny? Is it kind of fun? Where are you?
It's bordering on too much for me. I don't deal real well outside of wrestling with people who are excessively bubbly.
Yeah.
But she's funny. That is she has so many talents. She's one of those people that you want to hate her because she's good at everything, but you can't because she's just so darn nice as well. I think she's ultimately going to end up teaming with Mercedes, and I don't think they're going to go very far, but maybe they will. That tournament, when I called into the show last week, we were talking about the potential people in this tournament and how many teams there are that could win this thing. And that just throws another one right at the top of the heap, because that could be the belt that pushes Mercedes over the top.
Yeah. All right, JB says, doing the 6th anniversary show this weekend, Homecoming in Jacksonville next week just seems weird. They should have just called the 6th anniversary show Homecoming and had it in Jacksonville and had the title Tuesday in Hollywood, Florida, or somewhere else. I doubt that there was a scheduling conflict with Daly's Place, as TK owns it. I mean, I guess this is closer to the anniversary. What was the date of the first ever Dynamite?
Good question. But I mean, you could have just done this week's show in Jacksonville.
Right. But I think the concern is next Tuesday they're going head-to-head with NXT. And October 2nd, 2019 was the first Dynamite ever. So this is the 6th anniversary week. And next week they're on a Tuesday head-to-head with NXT. So Jason Paul and I in the flagship are talking about, are they just going to like wave a white flag and kind of just do a collision-like show and not try to win? Because if you try to win and you don't, it's kind of embarrassing. And they're putting something out there. They're hyping it a little bit more than just waving the white flag in terms of giving it a little extra attention on tonight's show. So I don't know. I'm fine with what they're doing. I mean, Homecoming, I think I don't know if it's in a lot of high schools this Friday, but it's sort of like Homecoming is next weekend, and this happened to be the 6th anniversary. So I'm fine with it. I don't have a nitpick there.
I went to school in England and Barbados. I don't know what Homecoming is. So you could call it turtle soup for all I know.
Fair enough. Hangman Joe could be an interesting one-off feud. I think it would be fairly easy to make Joe lean heel for that feud, although he often gets the cool heel reactions. Wrestle Dream is definitely more of an AEW B pay-per-view, so it feels adequate. The outcome feels inevitable, though. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, Joe is a B pay-per-view opponent, but it's a cool B-level pay-per-view opponent. And what do you think the crowd reaction is going to be, though? Well, does it matter? Is this just sort of Hangman beats Joe, the fans like both, and they respect both, and you pick them, and no harm is done? I don't think people are going to turn against Hangman because they like Joe better in this match, and maybe Joe in the next 2 weeks makes people dislike him, although I don't think he should go hardcore heel, but maybe he will.
I don't see them turning on Hangman. I can see them booing Joe, especially if he leans heel during the match. There's a very good chance that at the end of the match, he goes even more heel, or he might just shake it off and shake Hangman's hand and get out of the ring so whoever's coming next can beat him up.
I'm glad this is get asked, because I was confused watching the show and I didn't rewind to try to make sense of it. The FTR Stokely Willow video and Jet Speed. So JB says, what was the special surprise Stokely has in mind for Willow? Could it be a debuting or returning female wrestler, perhaps Britt Baker? ? I came away from that. Maybe tell me if I'm too easily confused, and it wasn't confusing, but I thought they were pitching, and maybe they did also, Kevin Knight against a member of FTR. You'll find out next week. That's what I took from it. And it was jumbled. I thought it wasn't really clear what they were saying. What did you think, Chris, of that video package?
Yeah, it was a little weird. I didn't really pick up on a potential surprise so much. Listen, if they're not going to bring Britt back in Pittsburgh, she ain't coming back. But they could be bringing in a female wrestler to join FTR and take on Willow. We could just see Willow versus Stokely. But I didn't take it as anything other than, Kevin Knight, you're going to get a surprise opponent next week, and it's going to be one of the two.
Yeah. All right. I like the aimless lost Toni Storm after losing her AEW Women's title. Perhaps this can add a new wrinkle to her already robust character. Chris, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, we touched on that earlier, right? How she seems sort of desolate. She seems like she's really missing a piece. She held that title for a very long time, and it made her into the character she is now. It made total sense, and I really enjoyed it.
Is there any chance Tony wins her title back at Wrestle Dream against Stat, and this furthers the Stat Death Riders Willow angle?
Yeah, there's a chance. I don't think it's a very big one.
Yeah, I don't either. That'd be almost kind of mean.
Yeah, especially like I'm going to keep saying it. She was so good this week. The difference is night and day.
Yeah. All right, you said you had notes. What have we not hit?
All right, where's my notes gone? I really like the continuity with Kenny Omega and Jack Perry, and how Omega didn't just hug him and shake his hand and say thanks for saving me, because it was Perry who put Omega out for the long term before he came back.
Yep.
And that there were a couple of spots through the show where that continuity came up, like with Joe saying Paige never beat him. I'm enjoying the fact that seemingly somebody backstage is telling Tony, hey, don't forget this happened in the story.
Yep. I mean, the heated words, it's nice when Kenny is a serious person.
Yep.
And he had a memory and he called him out on it, and they had, heated words. And I think you have to do that. I mean, Excalibur underlined it too in commentary, going, Omega feels Perry's responsible for him getting stretchered. But, Perry then went after the Bucks, and, it's like you got to kind of win people back through your actions, not just your words. What do you think of Perry? Well, I guess I covered it earlier a bit, but what is Perry's potential? Is this a good use of him, or is this a setting up something more? And this is trying to warm people up to him again, but this is a setup for him to be somebody that Tony Khan leans more on. I mean, it's actually kind of remarkable how many people on the 6th anniversary show getting pushed are the same people who were getting pushed 6 years ago. And Kyle Fletcher's new, FTR signed after the fact. But I mean, a lot of these, Tony Storm, a new star, obviously, but a lot of these have been around from the beginning. Even Statlander was, relatively early. Darby very early. This is a company, for better or for worse, has a consistent group of people in the roster they're pushing.
We were just missing, Kip Sabian versus Sammy Guevara to open the show.
Yeah, really.
As a Kip Sabian fan, I would have been all about that. It's interesting to see that some people just haven't progressed in 6 years, and some people have completely changed their fortunes around. And look at somebody like an MJF, who's pretty much, he has worked his way up the card. To be fair, he wasn't a main eventer when he came in. Someone like Swerve Strickland is the biggest success story, but probably him and Tony Storm. But your Danny Garcia's, your Sammy Guevara's. What have they done? Like, Sammy wasn't even on the show except for in a pre-recorded clip of him on another show. Yeah.
All right, let's bring one man's voice into the show. He attended Dynamite tonight, and we'll get his perspective. How's it going?
Hi, how are you, Wade? Thank you for letting me come on.
Of course. Are you safe talking to us?
Yeah. My wife is driving.
Oh, good. Okay, so I just wanted to be sure. I don't want to distract you for driving. There. Hi. I can see it. So, what was it like tonight? It was a cool setting. We didn't really talk about it, but I liked the change up in the look.
Yeah, the look was very nice. I didn't know how it was going to come off TV, just because of the coloring and all. But it was pretty packed. It was loud. It was really nice inside. I enjoyed it with a lot of the top talent being, injured or, just not be able to make it. I thought for what they had, it was a very productive show. Pretty much everybody enjoyed it. It was a hot crowd, so I hope it came.
Your signal's breaking up a little bit, one man's voice. So if we talk over you, that's why. I just want to let you know. But we're picking up enough. Hopefully it's not an ongoing issue. What was there a wrestler who came across as the biggest star of the show? Hangman, Kenny, Orange Cassidy, Darby Allin, Tony Storm. I could be leaving other people out. MVP in the Hurt Syndicate.
I mean, you named pretty much everyone. I would say Kenny number one. Orange and Hangman, I would say, are both tied number two. Yeah. And nice crowd for Statlander and Darby as well.
Were you surprised by the reaction for anybody? Pro, con, louder or quieter than you expected?
I'll tell you this, I really enjoy, because my family used to be in this business for a long time. So somebody that I was very surprised about was Lee Johnson. He got a nice ovation, and I just hope that, someday he kind of finds a character for himself other than this little bang thing that he does, I guess. But I really hope that, over the next year, they the swirl what he's in now, both of them could get up a little bit. Other than that, the Tony Storm, her gimmick right now little stale tonight because I guess people don't know exactly where she's going. But then once her and Chris faced off, crowd got hot for that. So I think they're anticipating a good showing.
Chris, short answer for you, but do you like the swirl? Do you like Christian Lee Johnson as an act? Do you think they should do more with them?
I like the team. I don't like the name.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to start slow with them, but I do hope that they do start taking some of their talent that are on the lower level card and they start pushing them up a little bit higher.
Who had the most heel heat? Like, was it just Wheeler Yuta just being Wheeler, or who?
It's very tough to say nowadays because nobody really gets, I believe, real heat. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Yuta. I mean, everyone with the FU Yuta. Yeah. Everyone's going with that. So he had a lot of heat. I thought Moxley had a lot of heat on him tonight too.
Good.
So yeah, Death Riders for sure.
How about Don Callis? Like, did you get boot coming out?
Well, yeah, that's true. I always forget. Like Don, yeah, I got a lot of heat, and man, that family just keeps growing and growing. It's unbelievable.
Yes, totally. It more than Los Grande Americanos and the asexual reproduction that I think Wade Barrett was the one who talked about happening. Samoa Joe, how did the crowd react to Samoa Joe as going, like, we're just talking about, I think you heard, like, who will the fans side with? Because people love Samoa Joe, and especially when there's a novelty of him being treated as a serious singles wrestler, people might be partial to cheering for him because he's just this legendary badass. But it's Hangman Page, and he is the ultimate home team AEW quarterback who the fans kind of chose and almost forced Tony Khan's hand to put him in the spot. So what did you get a sense of in that crowd tonight in terms of how fans might go with that choice at Wrestle Dream? Were you able to hear me? One man's voice? You're breaking up again.
From the fans' reaction, I mean, they definitely want the match. I think they believe that it's needed. I think Samoa Joe is the perfect opponent for him right now with the roster that they have, that they're limited. Good.
Signal breaking up again.
Against make Hangman go over. But the crowd was really with both of the guys. A lot of people were really going for Hangman too. I don't know if there's something missing because I really enjoy him. I think he's great, but I feel that something's missing with Hangman because the crowd is not fully there as they would be with a Kenny or even Cassidy. So that's just my opinion, but I really hope somehow he gets over.
Talk about anything off air. Yeah. Talk about anything that happened off air. Tony Khan talking to the crowd, or anything before or afterwards in terms of wrestlers appearing or matches, or anything during commercial breaks.
Well, I'll tell you, I love this suit tonight. Great suit he had, but I mean, he really enjoyed the crowd right away. He thought that they were hot, which the crowd was hot, and he definitely says he wants to come back to Hollywood sometime next year. And he didn't really say too much. Like he didn't really rile up the crowd like he normally does. I guess he was busy in the back, but he did a good job.
Anything else off air worth noting?
No, not that I can.
Yeah, okay. Chris, do you have anything you want to ask? No, that's fine. If there wasn't. Yeah.
I'm curious if, with the multiple entrances we had for the Death Riders through the night, if the heat died down for them at all, or if the crowd just stayed hating them all night.
Very good question. I thought bringing out Yuta late really helped keep the crowd going for the Death Riders. I mean, we were pretty much on our feet the whole night, just waiting for them. I mean, they're still hot. I know a lot of people either like them or dislike them. It's just a 50-50 crowd. But, keeping Wheeler Yuta last, and then, again, the FU Yuta, it definitely shows a hot crowd. And Marina coming out as well. Like, people were anticipating that text to the feet. Great spot. Everybody loved it. I mean,
you think stepping on a
Lego
Lego
for her, but good spot for us to see.
Did Kyle Fletcher come across to you as an emerging potential centerpiece long-term star for that company, or did it seem like a B player, but visiting the top, but a supporting guy?
I feel, I mean, he's definitely going to be the top player. They're definitely grooming him for it. As far as in that match for that moment, a little bit of that A-B player, like you said. But I think maybe something was off because obviously he was supposed to go against Hologram. He got hurt. So I think they had to backtrack. I did find it a little odd that sorry, I didn't know, like, the new guy that came in for Hologram, like, I don't know how they came over on TV, but him joining the Don Callis family, just a little odd to me. But again, I don't know how the storyline affected, like, how they came off on TV.
Yeah. But a big pop. Like, people were like, oh, this is cool. We got to be here for this.
Yeah, no, a lot of people were good. I'm sorry. Speaking of pops, it was very nice to see Andrade come back. That got a big pop. Almost forgot about my guy there. So yeah, that was nice to see him back. And I guess he's might be full time. So I think he's needed again. Good guy to, excuse me, just be in the ring with. Nice ring general there. So yeah.
Anything else you want to ask, Chris?
No, I was going to ask about Andrade, but you just touched on it. So yeah.
Ramen Noodle in the chat. And Ramen Noodle in the chat says, please ask One Man's Voice if he was one of the savages who had the audacity to what chant Tony Storm?
No, I wasn't. I
Good
cannot
for you.
Stand it. It's been way too many years. I hate it. No.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for calling in. Anything else you want to add from your experience tonight? I assume it seems like you had a good time.
Yeah, no, very good time. Like I said, my family's been in this business for a long time, working with Vince. So, I know somebody in AEW, so luckily they got me some good tickets and Ortiz, and it was a very nice show. So I just recently just wanted to give a shout out to you. I just kind of found you guys and Chris as well. I really enjoy listening to you guys before I go to sleep and put the kids to bed. So you guys are worth the listen, and keep going here. And thank you for the time.
How'd you find us?
Just randomly was on YouTube one night and
Perfect.
Spotted you guys and took a
Love
shot.
it. Yeah, that's how it works. I appreciate it. Thank you, One Man's Voice, and check in again. Call anytime.
Thank you very much. Have a good night, gentlemen.
Yep,
you too.
Chris, anything else you want to bring up from tonight's show?
Mark Briscoe's promo I thought was good, solid.
Mm-hmm.
He got across some good emotion. He didn't go over the top. I thought everything he said makes sense, but I don't really know what the point of it was. It was sort of like to say, I beat you, but I didn't get a title shot, but my friend is going to have a title shot. So yay, my friend. I didn't really understand why it was there.
That's a good point. I didn't either. Yeah. I mean, it just put people like Mark Briscoe, put him on TV, wish people a happy anniversary. I mean, I actually thought it was a start if they were going to have a bunch of wrestlers, like give a little anniversary message, like it didn't have to be a purpose, and actually that would have been nice, by the way.
Yeah.
Wrestlers on the show, not on the show. Maybe somebody who's not on it anymore who once was. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I just more wrestlers just talking about it being an anniversary would have been nice. And honestly, a little bit more with Jim Ross would have been nice.
Yeah.
Even if it was just calling in. But
he can do that, right? That's one of the few things he can still do safely.
Is what?
Is to just do a pre-recorded segment and just you
Exactly.
can rely on him and edit him and But yeah, that would have been a good point.
Yeah.
Tiny little thing with Kyle Fletcher. I thought there's something missing from his presentation, and I figured out tonight. I think I know what it is.
Okay.
Take those damn dangly things off your glasses.
It just looks.
It detracts from what he's going for. It's just he's got this hard ass look. He's chiseled out of granite. He's tall. He's shaved his head down. He's wearing. I think the choice to wear pink is excellent because it's a very effeminate color. We don't deal with that nonsense in this house. But that's what it's seen as, but he makes it look hard. But then you've got like these little things dangling off your glasses that just completely takes you out of it. And I think it's a nitpick, but that's the one thing about him that I think is just not quite hitting.
He looks like somebody who is on a journey to try to figure out where he's going to land. We saw Shawn Michaels do that. You know, It's kind of Shawn Michaels like, and I mean, I think there's some parallels there with him and Michaels, just trying to find what is my character going to be. Michaels went a little bit effeminate, like with his approach to get heel heat. You know, teasing, dropping his pants from behind and getting the girls to scream and the guys to whatever. And he got very bedazzled, I guess, at times, you know, during his initial run as a heel. So, you know, I mean, I think Fletcher's kind of looking what is going to get me heel heat and what is going to be my identity. And they don't generally have the budget that WWE has, you know, with in-house people really refining looks. But yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying about the dangly things on the glasses. You don't want to look like you're playing heel wrestler dress up. You want to have it look refined, not like you just went to the mall that day looking for something that will set you apart a little bit. But you know what? I mean, it's not disqualifying, but I think he's on a journey to refine it.
And I think the comparisons to Shawn Michaels are not accidental in any way, shape, or form. That is definitely what he's channeling. The only other thing I wanted to bring up.
By the way, Ramen Noodle says about this, bad take, Chris. Those glasses are the only thing keeping Fletcher, with all his talent and import to AEW's future, a heel in my mind.
I mean, I'm English and he's Australian. He's automatically a heel. I think so. There were a lot of people who stepped up on this show. Marina Shafir impressed me. Mm-hmm. She did have one slightly awkward spot when they were standing on the railing, but she showed more tonight than we've seen her show anytime she's tried to get in the ring. I thought Danny Garcia stepped up really well and didn't just show I'm a technical wrestler. He looked like he was at home in the more sports entertaining parts of it. Mm-hmm. But also, I thought Wheeler Yuta in the main event was really good. We mentioned that stats showed that she belongs in that. But I thought Yuta stepped up as well, not to the same degree, but he's also not carrying a world title. So I am.
You saved the best for last, Chris. Wheeler Yuta love. I loved his facial expression when he woke up just in time to see Darby doing the coffin drop on him to lose the match. That his facial, it's like, no, but he had he couldn't move. There was no time to react. It's just like he was about to be, it's like, suddenly a car coming at you head on a divided two-lane highway. You're like, and then there, bang, there it was. It was over. He is. People who don't like him, I think they're missing the point. You're not supposed to like him, but man, he's leaned into this in a good way. I'm not saying he's going to be AEW's Dominic Mysterio, where we're saying, hey, this guy could be a main eventer. But Chris, you might.
We're not quite there yet. I don't know. I think what I'm getting at here is we spend a lot of time on these shows, when I'm on them at least, complaining about small things that make an outsized difference. And I think tonight they did a really good job of making those small things matter, like that facial expression from Wheeler Yuta, the squabbling between Jack Perry and Kenny Omega, the fact that Samoa Joe was angry about how Hangman handed him a belt. These things that they could easily have overlooked and most wrestling fans would never have picked up on. They not only did them, but then it worked them into the storyline. And I would love to see more of that. My only problem is that Zach Barber isn't here to listen to us praising AEW so much tonight.
Zach, where are you?
Maybe he's here and he's just like, I don't know what to do. They're being nice.
I think he checked in earlier. He said, he did. I think he made a snarky comment about he just came to see if we're going to complain about Darby being on a magazine cover with a flamethrower.
No, because that's where you should be holding a flamethrower, is on a magazine cover, not in a wrestling ring. Yeah.
Let's see. Then he had nothing else to say. Once that didn't turn into a point of contention. I think it was him. But anyway, anything else, Chris?
No, I think that's
we got to end with praise for Wheeler Yuta. Yes. Derek Mitchell goes, Wheeler Yuta's benefited from being a heel in the Death Riders, much like Dominic Mysterio, going from white meat babyface to finding his identity much more than trying to be a babyface. And Ramen Noodle says, my Wheeler Yuta stock is going to make me an instant millionaire. Ramen Noodle says, Zach's not here, but I'm pleased and surprised by Chris tonight. Ramen Noodle, the B team AEW superfan sycophant.
You see, this just tells me that they're not actually listening to me, because I very often will say, I like AEW. I enjoy the shows. But if I just came on here and didn't have anything to criticize, nobody would watch.
And your critiques are not to tear them down. It's to build them up, because you think it would make the company that you ultimately overall like better. And that's, I mean, I say it all the time. Criticizing a company, even nitpicks, if it's not with your heart in the wrong place and you're rooting for them you're rooting for their demise, but instead this is shortchanging the talent. This is shortchanging the fans. These are fixable issues. I try to differentiate between. I don't complain about I don't say AEW should be in an 18,000 seat arena with 15,000 fans, because they can't do that right now. That'd be an unfair criticism. I don't complain that they don't have Cody Rhodes, because they can't have him because he signed WWE. I mean, whatever. There's probably a better example. I don't make unfair, unreasonable critiques. I just watch the show and go, I think this would make it better if they did this. And here's something they should clean up that they're not thinking about. Or here's something that isn't a Tony Khan strength as a booker that would help the company feel more major league or bring casual fans in more. So anyway.
Yeah.
Ramen Noodle, you are in contention for the A-Team AEW apologist. But I do think you should take some pride that you're the B level guy, and that Zach has you beat in that category. Yes. Ramen goes, I'm the Stevie Ray of the post show. Yes, Chris, you are a gem. All jokes aside, or AI jokes aside, sorry, you are in my upper echelon. Echelon. Why do I feel like I'm saying that word wrong?
It is. Well, unless you're Greek, I believe the Greeks would say echelon, but I'm not Greek. So
it's echelon. Yeah, the upper echelon of PWT commentariat. Wade, you are a legend. Cheers, both. Cool.
I can't be in the upper echelon until I've done a show with Todd. That's the last one on my bucket list.
He said he'll never do it.
I believe it.
All right. Everybody go VIP. Quit missing out. Quit missing out on so much good stuff, including The Fix with Todd Martin, everything with Rich and Wade. Rich and I did a show yesterday. We talked a lot about the Gail Kim Riho controversy and all the key players. Kenny Omega, some disappointing commentary on that. Dave Meltzer jumping in, and my take on Gail Kim and whether a peer of Riho should be, sort of flippantly in the course of a conversation thrown out a criticism of Riho like that without, more context. And anyway, Rich and I got really into that. A lot of other topics. It's a VIP exclusive show most weeks. So go VIP, pwtorch.com/go VIP. Greg Parks this week, by the way, his newsletter column and the topic of his VIP exclusive Greg Parks Out Loud podcast is about Chris Jericho and the value he could bring if he does go back to WWE. An in-depth look at that. Alan Forel's Pro Wrest Paradise, scratching the itch of Japan and history, European wrestling. So much good stuff on the VIP side of things. And again, a customizable podcast feed on Apple Podcasts. That means CarPlay. Also other iOS and Android apps. You can also stream it directly from our slick, ad-free, easily navigatable VIP website designed to make it easy to find whatever you're looking for. When you go back 20 or 30 years, sometimes you got to dig deep. There's some fun rabbit holes too, but the new stuff, very easy to find, very clean layout, and a site I think you'll want to visit to read and listen. So go VIP, pwtorch.com/go VIP. Gives you all the tiers, all the ways to sign up, all the ways to pay, all the platforms we're on, and we'd love to have your support. We're a small business, and we rely on your support if you like what we do to give us a little bit extra. We appreciate everybody who's listening on the podcast side and watching us on YouTube. Don't get me wrong. Thank you so much. But if you can afford it and you like what we do, that's the way to take it to the next level. You can get a 7-day free trial of our VIP lineup as a starter. Way to kind of dip your toe in the water too. Patreon.com/PWTorchVIP or search PWTorch VIP in Spotify to get a 7-day free trial. Chris, thanks again. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thanks, everybody in the chat.